Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And today I have a very special birthday card to share with you. It's for someone very special in my life and I thought I would share it with you. It's done using the stamp set called Grace's Garden. I don't know if you've seen that in the catalog, but it's this one. I'm really excited. I could hardly wait to get my hands on this stamp set. I love gardens and gardening, and I wanted one, and this is a little fussy. I'm going to admit that up front, but it is a card that's got a lot in it because the person is very special. So let's just get started. Okay, here is my card project for today. And I told you it was fussy. This is using the Grace's Garden stamp set. And in this stamp set, I am using this flower, this flower, this flower, this row of hearts, the cat, the bird, and I think that's all I'm using from this stamp set. Then I wanted a very small happy birthday, so I'm using the happy birthday from Botanical Bliss. This is one of my favorites. I use this stamp set a lot. And then the dies. The dies for this stamp set are called Garden Getaway dies. And I am using the gate, this piece here, which cuts out this little flower, this long piece which cuts out this bunch of flowers, this one which cuts out this flower, the cutout for the bird, the cutout for the cat, and then this arch that I'm going to cut in the front of my card. All right, let me tell you the pieces that you need to make this card. I'm using Whisper White, and my pieces are 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. This is best if it is a thick Whisper White. Then I have another piece of, 2 more pieces of Whisper White. This one is 3.5 by 5, and it's going to go on the front of our card. The only thing I'm going to change from this card is I put this little garden wall right down against the bottom, and I don't think there's any need to do that. The more I think about it, I'm going to center this one more in the middle of the card. Then you need, I have another piece 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside of the card. I know it's white on white, but I wanted to do some coloring on it, and so let me show you the inside of the card. So I've done a little bit of sponging, some stamping, and some coloring, and put a little bird on the inside. Okay, then you need a bunch of white scrap because you're going to cut out the gate. Now when you cut out the gate, it comes together, and I've cut my gate pieces apart because I want part of the gate to look like it opens. Then you need to stamp, let's see, the other ones that, now that I think about it, I use these 2 dies here to get this greenery that I'm having come down over and up the wall. And I just cut several pieces of this, maybe more than I need, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. So in here should be 2 little birds. I only see, or 3 little birds. And right now I only see 2 of them, but I'm sure the other one is here, and it'll turn up. And this piece, then this, which is the way the die cuts out, then this piece, because this is a photopolymer stamp, and that is this piece here, this can be adjusted to go in more of an arch, and that's what I did here, because I wanted some of the roses to come up around the top of the gate. So I bent the stamp and then stamped it, and then this is the piece, one piece that I did fussy cut out. Okay, then these little flowers, my cat, and I'm missing a bird. Well, we may have to cut out one more bird. And so those are the pieces that you'll need to be able to stamp and cut out. The beauty of this is there's dies for everything. There's dies for the bird, there's dies for the cat, there's die for all of these flowers, unless you manipulate the stamp, and then you're going to have to fussy cut a piece out. Okay, so that's what we've got. Now, what I did was I used this die to cut out my little arch in the front of this card so we could see through to the back. And I'm going to go ahead and center that on this piece and take this over to my die machine and cut out this piece. And the other thing I did was I used the brick wall embossing folder, and by the time I come back I will have this piece cut out and my embossing done. Okay, I am back and I have my piece with my arch cut out, and I centered that just the best that I could. Here, cut that piece out, and it's important to cut out your piece before you do your embossing, because otherwise when you put this back through your die cutting machine, if you've embossed first, it'll flatten out your bricks a bit. So I have my piece here, and I've got a piece of scratch paper, and the inks I am using for my brick wall is terracotta tile and soft suede. So I'm just going to open up my terracotta tile, and I'm going to use my brushes. Let me turn this over. And I'm going to get a little bit of the terracotta tile on my brush and just sweep it across my bricks. And what you get is a little bit of color, more on the raised part than the other. But when I thought about brick walls, I guess you could do this in gray, and I've seen it done in grays, and it's very pretty. But I really thought about red brick and that kind of thing. So I've got some of my terracotta tile on my bricks here, and then I'm just going to wipe that off, and I'm going to go to soft suede. And I got some ink on my brush for soft suede, brushed a little bit of it off, and then started going over the top of the terracotta, and you'll see it kind of takes down the pink and leaves it looking more like aged brick. At least it did to me. And so I'm gonna add this even where I got quite a bit of the terracotta down here. The soft suede kind of just takes that down a bit. And you can add more if you choose to. I'm pretty happy with that. It really does look like an old brick wall to me. So that is all I'm using the terracotta tile and the soft suede for. Now, the front of my card, I'm going to wipe an awful lot of this off of this brush. These brushes are amazing. You really don't have to wash them in between, just so long as you rub most of the color off, you're fine. Next, I'm using Balmy Blue and Old Olive. And I'm going to start with my Balmy Blue, get a good amount of the blue on here. And what I was trying to do is create a background on my card front here that looks a little bit like sky, and then on the bottom a little bit like grass or meadow. So I'm just laying down some blue across the top here, more than 3/4 the way down. And I love the soft, even kind of look that you get using these blending brushes. So as long as I've got that, I also want to do a little bit of blue on the inside panel of my card. And what I did here was just a hint of blue coming across where I'm going to do some stamping of some flowers. There we go. All right. Next, I'm going to put a little bit of Old Olive on the bottom here to mimic some grass. And I'm going to use a different brush on this one and just come across here and just get a hint of some green on the bottom of my card here. Here we go. And I am going to do that. Oops. Well, so much for that thought. I should have moved that out of the way. So I put the green on the bottom of this other side on this panel. And go back to the blue for my inside panel. I really didn't even see that that was still sitting there. Okay, so a little bit of blue just right along here, just to give a little bit of hint of that same look from the front of the card. And there, I think that is just plenty. Now, I can go ahead and begin to think about where I'm going to put this. And if I center this more on the front, I think it's going to look better. And I think it's going to look more balanced on the card. So what I'm going to do is take a pencil and put just the tiniest tick mark on either side of my arch, because I'm going to do some stamping on the inside. And for this, I'll be using my Memento. And what I did was I put this particular stamp right here up a bit and crossing that piece so that the stamping went up and behind that garden opening. There we go. And then I'm going to put this one on this other side, perhaps a bit lower. And again, just so some of all of those flowers you can see inside the gate and inside the archway. There we go. All right. Now, you have to do your coloring before you put your archway on and start to put this together. So what I did was I used my markers, my regular markers, not my blends, because I didn't want this bleeding through, and I wanted to use tons of colors And so I just decided to go ahead and use my markers. And what I've got here is Highland Heather. And on these little flowers that go up, I have some things that are similar to this in the yard. And so I'm just going to color up that whole little piece there. Not distinguishing the individual petals. Okay, then this little flower over here, I did that in a paler color, and I think on this one I'm going to do those in yellow, and this one is my Pineapple Punch, which turns out to be just a really lovely yellow. So I'm going to do the flowers first, leaving the centers open, and there's nothing special about this coloring. It's just getting the color down on the flowers that you want. And there we've got flowers pretty much done. Then I took Granny Apple Green, and in some cases I took Old Olive, and other cases I took Granny Apple Green, and in some cases I used both. And I decided that I like the brightness of this, and I'm just putting in the grass here on the bottom and just adding the color that way. Then on these leaves on this side, I'm using the Granny Apple, and I'm really just dashing a bit of color on the places where there's leaves. This does not require a lot of careful coloring. There, that's just about done. Now on this side, I used my Real Red marker, and I'm using the brush end on these because I really want this coloring to go fast. So I am coloring, these are hollyhocks, and so I'm coloring my hollyhocks flowers first again, so I can get the coloring on there. And then I decided that these little pieces at the top are in fact buds of the hollyhock, so I'm putting those in red. And then on this one, I did the leaves then in Old Olive, because I don't know about your garden, but mine is that way. There's times that different flowers have different colors of green on their leaves, and no two are exactly the same, and that makes for, frankly, a beautiful garden. So there we go, just adding a bit of green in there. Now, I'm going to set those aside for the moment. And now I think we're ready to put the arch in place, and there you see where it's going to sit on the card. Now, I did put this up on dimensionals, and because this is an arch, I did use extra dimensionals around the curvature of the arch. I didn't want anything collapsing. And so there's probably an excessive amount of dimensionals, but I wanted to make sure that everything stayed put. And there we go. So this is now ready to go on the front of my card. And the only difference between this and the one that I did earlier is that this is going to be a bit more centered on the card than the first one. There, I think that'll do it. There we go. Now, I can still see that little tick mark, pencil mark I put in there, which I'm going to take out. This one I don't see at all, but there we go. We have our garden gate down. Next, we have to put this piece on because flowers are going to go up and over and around it, and it needs to be put into place. And I just used snail for this. I used my dot runner, and I went around the whole thing, and then I decided that this side of the gate I was going to have closed, and this side of the gate, there's little score marks on your gate at various points so that you can make it so that the gate opens pretty easily. So I'm going to set this in place by starting this at the bottom of my brick wall. And then setting that around so that it comes back down to the bottom of the brick wall on this other side. And I have none of my brick wall showing outside of the arch. And then I'm pushing this piece down and leaving this piece open. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is color flowers, and that is a bit tedious. So I'm going to do that and speed up the video. There's nothing special about this coloring at all. It's just getting some color down on the pieces. So I'll do that, and I will be right back. Well, there we have all of the coloring done, and in real time, I'm not sure how long that took me, but it wasn't too bad. So this piece is ready to go on the inside of our card, and I'm just going to add some snail to the back of this. Oops, that's out of tape. So this one is going to go on the inside of my card, and I'm going to add one of these little birds to the inside, and you saw I just stamped and fussy cut out one more little bird. It's just as easy as anything. And I'm going to put that little yellow bird right down there between those flowers, and that part is done. All right, now for the front, I have my little cat. I guess I better leave this here. And my cat, I colored in Smokey Slate and gave him a little white dot. And I'm going to put him right down here in front of this gate. Then these pieces need to go around the top of my archway here, and I think I can put this down right about here and have it come up, and then go ahead and add my snail to this and set it right underneath, so it then comes down and goes around the arch. Then this piece is going to sit pretty much right here, and so it just needs snail. So I'm going to add lots of snail to it though, and put it in place next to the cat, going just outside the brick wall and below it, and put that into place. Then let's see, I put a little vine over on this side, and again on these I'm just adding some snail and putting this so that it is climbing up the bricks and my archway. Then this piece is ready to go on the front right here, covering up the beginning of the vine, going a little bit off the brick wall. There we go. Now on these pieces, what I did was, there's nothing magic about this placement. I actually put it where I'd made a little error. So with this, I'm going to fold this top leaf and stick it behind the bricks, and then bring it down the brick vine here. And that way that'll hold it into place. And on this one, since I don't have something to cover up, we can put this into place however we'd like here. And I'm thinking, again, I'm just going to put some snail on the back of this, and I'm going to fold this piece right about there and tuck that folded piece behind my brick wall, and then have that vine come straight down the brick. And this one, I think I'll have come across as though it's coming across the roses. And with that one, I think I'm just going to stick it into place without doing any of the folding. There we go. And it looks like it's just coming off of this vine here. There we go. There we go. So isn't that pretty? I'm just very tickled with that. Now, my happy birthday sentiment. What I have done, let me see if I can find the one that I started here before we got going. There it is. What I did was I cut a piece of card 3/8 of an inch. Now this has got a little mar on it, so I'm not going to be able to use that one, so I'm just going to cut that right off. And I've got my happy birthday mounted here from the Botanical Bliss, and going to see if I can put this happy birthday right on this piece. There, very good. And I am just going to, in fact, in order to get that straight, I'm going to use my mini trimmer here. And I just want roughly the same, and I'm going to make it shorter, so I'm going to have to take a tiny bit off of this end as well. There we go. And this then is my rather understated happy birthday that's going to go right along here. And so this end is going to require some snail, and then this end on this side is going to need a glue dot because the this part is raised. So there we go. Put my happy birthday just tucked a tiny bit underneath that last rose that's kind of hanging over, and then I have 2 birds left to put into place, and I'm going to put some snail on them, and this little blue one I think I will put right down here on the top of my vine, and then this little yellow one I'm going to add right up here on this vine. And there we go. That is the project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. There's a great join offer going right now, and it would be a wonderful time to join. Your first minimum isn't due until the end of June, and so it's the best time of the year actually to join Stampin' Up! But there we go. There's that very special card. There's a lot of work that goes into this one, and really though, once you get your pieces die cut and do your coloring in mass, it's just assembly. And I think I do like this card better where it's more centered rather than at the bottom. So this is, like I said, going to somebody very special in my life. And there's my inside decoration. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll give it a try. Now, if you're if you're not a flower person, this isn't the card for you, but this is how I want my garden to look. So thanks again for stopping by. And let's see, my prize draw for the month of January is the bundle of your choice out of the mini catalog. And in order to get yourself into my drawing, all you need to do is put an order of any size on my website, lbedinger.stampinup.net, or you can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. And oh, I have one other thing I'd kind of like to share with you. Back in November at the Stampin' Up! Convention, at one point in time, the demonstrators were given, a group of demonstrators were given 2 stamp sets, and they had to pick somebody in the room to share one of them with. And I was approached by Jackie Rosamond, who gave me this beautiful stamp set, and it is called Breathtaking Bouquet, and it is in fact breathtaking. It's a very large stamp, a whole card stamp. And I promised Jackie at the time that I would make a card for her, and I finally gotten around to it, and this is the card that I made for Jackie. So I'm getting ready to send this one off to her, and the details of this one are on my blog. So if you want to look at what I used and how I did it and so on and so forth, it's on there. But I thought I would just share that with you. It was just a lot of fun to do, and I'm looking forward to sending that to her. Well, that's it for me today, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye!